as human as we are. Today's daily devotion from Pastor Greg Laurie.
Our scripture reading today is from James chapter 5, verse 17. Elijah was as human as we are, and yet when he prayed earnestly that no rain would fall, none fell for 3.5 years.
The showdown between Elijah and the prophets of Baal in 1 Kings 18 is one of the most triumphant scenes in the Old Testament. One man of God versus 450 false prophets in a winner-take-all contest to determine whose God was the true God of Israel. The rules were simple. Elijah built one altar and placed his sacrifice of a bull on it. The false prophets built another altar and placed their sacrifice of a bull on it. The God who sent fire to burn his sacrifice would be declared the true God. The false prophets went first. They prayed for hours, begging their God to respond. They worked themselves into a frenzy. They cut themselves, hoping their blood would get Baal's attention. But nothing happened. When Elijah's turn came, he instructed the people to pour water on his altar until it and the ground around it were flooded. He wanted to make it impossible, in human terms, for his altar to ignite. And then he prayed. And God sent fire from heaven that consumed Elijah's sacrifice and altar, as well as the ground around it. The Lord left no doubt as to who the true God of Israel was, yet Jezebel, the queen of Israel, stubbornly refused to acknowledge him. When she heard what had happened, she sent word to Elijah that he would be killed the next day. Like that would scare a prophet of the one true God, a man who just played a role in God's miraculous display of power, a guy who literally had just come down from a mountaintop experience. A man brimming with confidence and courage, knowing that he enjoyed the protection and blessing of God. 1 Kings 19, 3-4 describes Elijah's memorable response this way. Elijah was afraid and fled for his life. He sat down under a solitary broom tree and prayed that he might die. Wait, what? Why? The simple answer can be found in the passage from James 5 above. Elijah was as human as we are. People tend to put spiritual leaders, teachers, preachers, evangelists, podcasters, influencers on pedestals. Oh, they're so spiritual. They never get down. They never struggle with depression or anxiety like I do. Every day is great for them. Not true. Every spiritual leader you admire is just as human as you are and struggles with vulnerabilities and weak moments just as you do. The devil knows that the most vulnerable time for many Christians, leaders, and lay people alike is right after a spiritual victory. Maybe you've experienced that. Maybe you took a bold step of faith to do something for God's glory and it went well. But immediately afterward, you faced a spiritual attack. Maybe your marriage foundered, or your kids turned from Christ instead of to Him. I've experienced these attacks. Waves of depression have hit me after great spiritual victories, such as any crusade we've ever done. Don't focus on your emotions. Focus on God. Remember, you're not as good or as bad as people think you are. You're God's servant. Just do your job. Give Him the glory and keep moving, whether you're a leader or a layperson. If you're married, you and your spouse can work together to keep one another on an even spiritual keel. You can lift up one another or gently keep one another grounded as necessary. Understanding that leaders are as human as you are helps you resist the urge to put them on pedestals. It helps you become more realistic about your expectations for them. It helps you empathize with their responsibilities. Perhaps most importantly, though, it encourages you to pray for them. The best thing you can do for the spiritual leaders in your life is to ask God to give them the strength, compassion, wisdom, discernment, and patience they need to accomplish God's work.